Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast with Ron and Kristin, where leadership meets entertainment. This podcast features stories with names and certain aspects that have been changed to keep submissions private. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast, where leadership meets entertainment. I'm Kristin Sokoloff, joined by my co-host, Ronnie Ward. Today's guest is someone we don't normally get in leadership conversations. A man whose leadership didn't start with a LinkedIn bio. It started generations ago. Howard Tripp Dietrich is an 8th-generation Oregonian, business owner, employer, and part of one of the oldest families in the state of Oregon. A family tied to the founding of the Pendleton Round-Up and the pioneer era of the Pacific Northwest. This isn't just a conversation about politics. It's something much deeper. Tripp, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Kristin. Thank you, Ron, for having me.
Absolutely.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of getting to talk to Tripp a little bit before this interview, and we talked yesterday, and I told him it would be illegal for him to leave the state of Oregon when your family's got that much lineage there. So, well, Tripp, let's get started. We're going to talk a little bit more about heritage and identity. You're not just from Oregon. Your family helped build Oregon. Before we talk business or politics, tell us about the Dietrich family history.
Well, on my dad's side of the family, the Dietrichs have been here for about 5 generations. They came over as dairy farmers, and my grandfather was the first CPA attorney in the state and helped incorporate all the farms in central and eastern Oregon so that the revenuers couldn't take the farms away when there was an inheritance situation. And on my mom's side, the Bishop family, they've been here, I'm 8 generations. They started at Pendleton Woolen Mills, which first started out as the K-Wooden Mill. Before that, we were in textiles on the East Coast for quite some time also. And then Pendleton Woolen Mills is still around. My great-grandfather started up the Pendleton Round-Up, and we're still in the textile industry, but we've diversified quite a bit.
And just for our audience, Tripp, tell them what the Pendleton Round-Up is. I had to look it up, to be honest with you.
Epic. Did you? Oh, wow.
It's one of the oldest oldest rodeos in America. It was, I think the first official one was 1910, but it unofficially started, I think, in 1909. It incorporates the Native American tribes in the area also. So if you know what the Indian relay races are, one of the most spectacular races you'll ever see. It's bareback horse riding, where the riders will go around, then they'll switch up horses bareback, and sometimes there can be some terrible accidents, but it's just part of the heritage over there.
Gosh, I gotta come out and see that. Go ahead, Kristin.
No, I was just going to say, I've never gone here. I live in Oregon. I've never gone to that.
It is quite the event. I mean, the whole town comes out. You'll be catching rides in the back of trucks to get around town. Drinking is definitely a component of it. I think when my great uncle was 94, we would watch the parade, and he'd say, "Well, time to go to the Rainbow Room," and it'd be 8 a.m. to go and get whiskey. So, if anyone knows the Letter Buck Room in the bottom of the stadium, that's always been quite the wild place.
Wow!
Oh my gosh, really cool. Because Cowboys and Indians, right? Like, wasn't there? And it's probably quite different now, but didn't they used to fight, and it was quite the tension between the two in the beginning of the rodeo?
There was always somewhat of a competition, but fighting between the Native Americans and Indians, of course, that we have a terrible history of that in America. But the great thing that the Bishops and the Pendleton Woolen Mill did was it kind of helped incorporate the Native Americans into the Western economy, so we would pay them for their designs. So it kind of helped them to develop a route into the Western economy.
That is very cool.
So Tripp, here in Charleston, we always say that the Yankees are moving in, taking over. So it's rare that I even meet someone from Charleston, but the fact that you're 8 generations deep, that is just, that's an amazing story. Do you feel added pressure as far as the family name on both sides of the family? I'm sure everyone knows it. Do you feel added pressure in your life journey?
Well, I think that anyone who has a family legacy definitely does. If you've had a good name for over 100 years in one area, you do not want to be the guy to mess that up. And your word is your bond, and that's that's what you come in the road with and you end with. So it's that is a lot of pressure, and I'm sure some of my cousins feel the same thing. Let alone pressure to succeed, but also not to be dependent upon the family for your success. You see a lot of these family businesses. I mean, they're done after 3 generations, right? You get the people who develop it, the people who curate it, and the people who lived off of it, and then it's over.
Wow.
And seeing people squander inheritance both in financially and also heritage, it's always a sad thing that I've always been very wary of. Very wary.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the 8 ball there, because so many people, they just take it for granted. And, most people today grow up believing they invent themselves. You grew up knowing that you were a part of something already in motion. How does that shape decision making?
Well, you want to make sure that you can add to it, right? You don't want to. I think one thing we always learn is you never destroy your principle. You always grow it. Which has always been very important to me. But you don't want to be, you want to be able to add something to what the mix of what you guys have. And so I've gone off, I've been a chef, I've started up businesses, I did a little stint on Wall Street in New York, started up my own textile company before selling it when I got the indentured servitude bell rung to come back home and start working in the family business. But even in working in the family business, it wasn't like I was just given a position. I started off doing menial jobs. I've worked just a warehouse boy at an electronics company. I've worked in promotions. I've done pretty much every job just so that I think that I know I might not be the smartest person, but I know how to hire the smart people, and I know what they should be.
I love that. That is huge right there. Do you think that modern leaders struggle because they don't think past their lifetime?
I'm sure a lot of people do. A lot of people are just in a job just to go to get the paycheck and go to the end of the day. And I think that with our current society's lack of importance towards the family structure, that whole thinking has prevailed. It's unfortunate, because I think one of the greatest strengths a society can have is the family structure. But I don't feel that way, and I'm trying to always look beyond me and trying to look down 2 generations and see how we can go and where we need to go, because if you don't adapt, you die.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's really good. I got to tell you, Tripp, when I had grandsons, that heritage and lineage and all of that, it's just become so much more vivid to me. I think about them and their future a lot. And some of it is troublesome, but have to have faith that they're going to be strong, and, God's going to help them. The final lesson in my book was leave it better than you found it. And it really sounds like you're determined to do that. And that's a tall order, because you found it pretty good, Tripp. Yeah, I found it pretty good. So, as long as I can add to it, and we have a pretty good formula with what we do. I mean, we're pretty diversified. We're in the hospitality industry and in the real estate industry, but we've diversified into developing our own property now, and I'm looking at multifamily housing. I think housing is one of the biggest issues that we have in Oregon right now, too. And the state is not helping out in that. In my district in particular, you have a lot of people that are having to drive 2 hours just to get to their jobs. And there's,
oh, wow.
And, the district encompasses most of the coast, pretty much all of the northern coast of Oregon. And in that area during COVID, you had a bunch of people moving in from around the country just buying up all the land, because it was relatively cheap when you compare it to California to get a place right on the beach.
Yeah.
Now and then on top of that, there were investment properties, which have further hurt the housing issue out there. But our state government is not helping out. I know, I won't get into too much detail on who this is, but I have a buddy who has 4,000 units in the pipeline right now, probably the biggest guy in Oregon. And he wanted to do low income housing, and he tried to go and get a meeting with Kotek, our governor, and she wouldn't even see him.
Wow.
Oh,
and that's like what she runs on, right?
Yeah.
Like she's like catering to that, that person that is in need of this low income housing.
Exactly.
Yet she won't. So, yeah.
And you're not going to have anyone try and increase that housing, the low-income housing levels, if the state won't work with them. I mean,
Right.
part of it is, everyone needs to make a dollar. And these guys and even in low-income housing, you can make a good profit, but they're not being greedy about it. But part of that formula are tax incentives that the state's responsible for. And
Yeah.
well, we're not seeing that support right now, unfortunately.
Wow. Hey, Tripp, before we get further into your world, this Pendleton Round-Up has got me mesmerized. Tell us any memory you would have on, how your great ever how many grandfathers there, and any stories that you know from that in founding it. What did it just start off to be a little friendly competition, or what do you remember?
I got the story for you guys.
Okay.
All right.
The rodeo was thought up, and we didn't know how we were going to get the Native Americans to come in. So my great grandfather, Roy T. Bishop, he rides over to the Indian camps. He says, "Well, anyone who comes in, we will give you an area for you to set up for you guys to camp, set up your teepees, and we'll give you a silver dollar for each person who competes." So the day of the rodeo, no one knows if they're going to show up. And over the hill, the whole Indian tribes start coming over the hill, and they come in and set up.
I've heard that before. This is so cool hearing it from someone that's so. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
I'm dorking out.
To this day, there's this whole Indian village at the rodeo right next to the grounds where everyone sets up their teepees and camps out if you're a part of the Native tribe. So there's a very close hand-in-hand relationship with the Native Americans and our family and our state.
Yeah, that is so cool. Tripp, the only time I've been there I was literally moving from Oregon to New York City for a little while, and I road tripped it there. And we stopped in Pendleton, and my mom rode with me, so it was like a crazy thing. So we got food at Safeway, and we're like, there's a park right next to the Roundup, right?
Yeah.
Like a little park, there's benches. We're like, let's go eat at the park. I think the only other person there was homeless, and he was in there. And there's a rabid squirrel trying to eat my chihuahua. But at the same time, it was so cool. I was like, I need to come back here. Because I had read that before, that just exactly what you described, how the Native Americans, unbeknownst to them, actually showed up, and they were right there on the top of the hill, and it's something you would see in a Western, right?
Yeah.
It's just such a cool story.
To this day, we have an award they call the Roy Bishop Award that my side of the family directly, because my family's pretty spread out. We have my great grandfather Roy Bishop had two other brothers, and then they have their families. So it's they're pretty spread out around Oregon. But he has this award that's for the Native American princess, woman who wins the Native American princess pageant, and we get to give a bag of 100 silver dollars to her every year. And
Oh, cool.
it's just it's great to be part of it and be able to spend some time with the Native American chiefs out there.
That is so cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Kristen, go ahead.
I know. Yeah, I was going to ask you, I'm really curious. So if that's your great-grandfather and you're 8th generation Oregon, when did they come over? Your first family member?
I'd have to check with I called her my aunt, Ruth Bishop. She was one of the foremost genealogists and traced us all out.
I love that.
It was mid 1800s or right around the time of. I think we were out before Oregon was a state, and
Yeah.
right around probably 1840, 1850s.
Oh my gosh. Did they come over with the Oregon Trail?
Yeah, from my understanding, they originally set out to go down the California Gold Rush Trail and then came up. But yeah, around that time, it was
so cool.
It was definitely. I can only imagine how hard that travel was.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we all played Oregon Trail growing up on the game.
Yeah, dysentery. Oh my gosh, seriously. Well, there's a micro generation that I am part of that's called the Oregon Trail generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Those who played Oregon Trail in middle school.
Yeah, that was the first video game, and it was an educational video game that everyone loved.
Exactly. I have the board game. They've made it into a board game. It's awesome.
Got to add that to the collection.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Kristen,
goodness.
I was telling Tripp that I'm headed to Virginia on Friday, and I'm literally going to be recording my parents. We're putting together some lineage, at least more recent,
Love
because we have a pretty solid records going all the way back to Scotland. So this is kind of the last 50, 60, 70 years that we're going to talk about. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that.
So cool.
Yeah.
More people need to do stuff like this, like to know where you came from is so important. And this, I think that's one of the reasons we get along so well, Ron, is because like I have my family documented back to Virginia in the 1600s. Like, and all of that is very important to me. And I do feel like I'm living up to, just something greater than myself, right? And so, yeah, that's very cool. I'm curious, Tripp, today's leadership is often branding, right? And back then, leadership was consequence, quite frankly. What do we misunderstand about pioneer leadership today?
Well, there's a lot of people in leadership roles nowadays. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to get in there. And I think a big part is if you're in a leadership role, you have to be able to do every job beneath you that you're managing over. And back then, if something went wrong, you couldn't make a call and get someone to fix it. You had to get in there and actually figure it out, and to get your hands dirty. And there was the buck stopped at you. I mean, nowadays there's just so much. There's so many other people just trying to lay off their responsibility on other people. People who have roles that they don't really care about their jobs. They're just like, all right, not my problem. Someone else. Rather than see that every little bit contributes to the health of the organization. And back then, a lot of that organization was family. So if you messed up, your family was getting hurt.
Yeah, seriously. Absolutely. Ron, I know you're going to jump into some questions, but I just thought, if anyone's seen ice road truckers, like when they're out by themselves, like if their truck breaks, it's on them. That's what popped into my mind. Like that is, not only are you in charge of making sure that you get from point A to point B, right? But if anything breaks, that is on you. And that amount of responsibility is just so unheard of today.
Well, I think that we've made life very plush and very safe. Too safe. And people don't realize how fragile their environment really can be. And it can be dangerous. And I've traveled all around the world. I've done some things I've put myself in interesting situations. I've driven a motorcycle through the slums of the Dominican Republic. I've been a sailboat captain down in the Caribbean. And if things go wrong on a boat in the ocean, you gotta figure it out because
that's another situation. You're like SOL unless you know how to do it.
Oh yeah.
So Tripp, let's change gears. Let's talk about business ownership. We have a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs that listen, and you've spent your life really building business and building people. What did business ownership teach you about human nature that maybe theory never could?
I think at the very heart, everyone is good. But you have to temper your expectations and if you have to take care of your employees, but at the same time, you can't expect them to live by the same standards you set for yourself. So if you don't expect people to work as hard for you as you are for them, then you're never going to be disappointed. But at the same time, you have to be understanding that people do have their lives, and so hopefully when you have employees, you take on a little bit of the responsibility for their family that they have. You have to realize that a lot of them, you have to encourage people to first have a family, but you have to help them to maintain that, because you never know what's going on in someone's personal life, and they bring that to they might try and hide it, but they'll bring that with them to work, and you have to be considerate of that.
It's very true. So, Tripp, the preface of my book was the night before I had to terminate a federal agent, and it was gut-wrenching. You seem like a nice guy to me. And how do you balance supporting your employees with accountability? And have you had some situations, or maybe something you could share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think that I like to think of myself as a very kind-hearted person. Not that I played rugby. We would beat the hell out of each other and then go on. So it's a duality to me. But I feel like as long as you have communication, that is important. I mean, it's important in every relationship, whether it be in work or personal life. But as long as you're communicating the responsibilities that you want someone to take on, they're not surprised by it, and they communicate back to you that they can. Well, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But as long as you're being honest and straightforward and you communicate, that's how I can factor in why I have to make hard decisions sometimes. And always.
Yeah, I like that. We talk a lot about transparency and how it's important leaders don't save their grievances for the review, right? Like I don't know how often people get maybe an annual review or a quarterly, right? But don't save it for the review and then leave your employees shocked and dumbfounded, right? Like these need to be conversations that come up almost immediately, at least within 72 hours of whatever you've witnessed that needs to be addressed. And so you'd be amazed. I'm sure you've seen it. So many leaders, they wait, and I don't know if it's just they're too nervous or uncomfortable to bring it up. Like, what are your thoughts on a leader that does that, and what does that do to the morale of staff?
Well, if a leader isn't communicating what they want their employees to do effectively, well, then it leaves the employees feeling like they're in limbo. They don't know what's going on. If they're worried about just if they're going to have a job or if they're doing the right thing rather than doing what they think their job is, then they're never going to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
It's really true.
Exactly.
You know, Kristin and I have talked a lot about this, but even in the coaching space, we help managers not think of themselves as managers, but think of themselves as coaches, because it is like a coach, and you should be giving feedback. I always jokingly say, what if you waited until the end of the season if you were a basketball coach and said, hey, John, in game 4, you should have played better defense. So I try to get them to think with sports analogies that you need to be given that feedback constantly. And then when you build a culture of feedback, it's not a shock. You know, even if it's constructive, you don't shock everyone because they're accustomed to it. But yeah, Chris and I both have a sore spot for those people that wait and then they ambush someone in their performance evaluation.
Yeah, that's just
exactly. We talk a lot about the difference between a boss and a steward on this show. What does a business owner owe employees, and what do employees owe the mission?
Oh, wow. Well, I think the business owner has to enable their employees to have a work balance life so that they have time to themselves and respect that. There's nothing more I hate than having to call up someone who works for me after hours or on a weekend or something like that. So you try and respect that as much as possible. And also you got to make sure that they can afford to have a decent life. You know, if they have a family, they can take care of them, and that they don't have to put work in front of their family. And at the same time, though, out of respect for their time, they have to respect the company's time and work as hard as they can to achieve the goal that they're trying to get. Because if you know what your role is and what you need to accomplish, and you're not doing that, and you're being provided enough time for it, well then, sometimes you bite off more than you can chew, and you need to be able to communicate that out, just like the boss needs to be able to communicate the mission effectively and what's needed to accomplish that. And there's the quarterback, there's the coach, and then there's the players, and everyone has their important role in there, and but it all has to come together to make for the company to be successful.
Yeah, they're coming for you,
I was
Tripp.
getting ready to say I heard a siren.
That's fire, though, I can tell.
Yeah.
I know my sirens. Oh, man. You sound like a dream employer, to be honest.
You really do. You got any openings?
Yeah.
You got any openings?
I know, we want to apply.
Yeah, well, I don't deal with the day-to-day hiring. I just deal with the managers, because I think we've hired some great managers to work for us, and in turn, they've hired great employees to work under them. We like to think of it our company is like a family. We have, for instance, at our hotel, we have well over 200 employees, and everyone who stays there really comments on how the employees make them feel like they're at home. And so by us treating them like their family, they treat our customers like family, and it's great. During COVID, we were bleeding a lot of money to keep on our staff. I mean, we had to do reduced hours, but we were still losing, well over $100,000 a month. And the reason why we did that is because we realized they had families to feed. And how could we, when we were doing good and making money, it was because of them. How could we betray their trust and that family and get rid of them and put them in a bad situation? So, you have to, it has to go both ways.
No, that's really good. I do think he ignored our question about the job openings, though, Kristin.
Ron's like, I'm dead serious.
Oh, gosh. No, that's great, Tripp. It really is.
Seriously.
The true leaders definitely were on display during the lockdown. Real leaders.
Yeah.
You could separate the wheat from the tare, as the Bible says. Trent, I love the fact that you have...
You called him Trent.
Did I? Tripp, sorry.
I've been called worse.
Where leadership meets entertainment.
I do have a friend named Trent. So
does he look like Trent to you?
Not
Maybe
really.
Resembles
Not
Trent.
really. Trent's not nearly as good a guy either. If he's listening.
Tripp, you'll learn I can't let anything go. So
I told him about the.
I have to learn to let go a lot of things.
Kristin, I told him about the restroom situation.
Really important things. Make sure those are right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I told him about the restroom situation when our first episode. I should have known what I was getting into in that moment.
Yeah. I scarred you.
I came back on and she goes, "Yeah, you should have closed the door." I'm like, "Oh my God." Anyway.
Oh, well, I didn't need to ask number 1 or number 2 because I heard it.
Jesus. God. Lucky day for you.
Oh my God. All right, let's get serious here.
That's no fun.
Tripp, you think in generations, and I love that, but a lot of leaders think in quarters. And what impact do you think short-term thinking has on businesses in general?
Well, if you look, it's like micro versus macro, obviously. But as long as I had a housemaster and rugby coach. He said, as long as you take care of the details, the big picture will fall in line. So you do have to look at it. I mean, whether you're doing your sales projections and your seasonality, so you do have to look at your quarterly, but you have to set a bigger goal from the 10,000-foot view, and hopefully, just like everything, you chisel away at the problem or the goal towards the goal, and you're taking your small steps. So, as long as it's a good way to judge your metric to see where. It's a good metric to use to figure out which direction you're going and the little changes you need to make along the way. But ultimately, though, you need to have that 10,000-foot view of where you're going down the road, whether it be, like we talked about, you have to adapt or you die. So with me, we've gone from textiles to hospitality to development, and we're still looking down the road now. And I think it's multifamily really is a big thing for us, and that'll be new for us to go into. But that's down the road, where that's probably 5-10 years out from here. Knowing how Oregon operates and getting permits, that could be 20 years.
Yeah, I get it.
Bad.
I've never said this before, Kristin, and I'll tell you this, Tripp. This was a really awakening moment for me. Is if you watch government employees, toward the end of their career, they go in neutral. and then they will eat up use or lose time, not use or lose, even sick leave. And I always knew who was about the mission. Some of the go-getters and I knew it, they would keep working until they retired. Other people would set it in neutral. And I was determined, even though I retired under COVID, that I was going to keep working. And I think that is a mindset that shows the difference between that short-term and long-term thinking. And you're exactly right. Of course, Tripp, you got to have a matrix and stuff. But if people don't catch the long-term vision, I don't think they're going to be as productive. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, there's a lot there. I know that I have some great friends, and they've worked in public places, and I think they've accrued, a year of sick leave, and they don't ever use it. I mean, they'll get paid. See, a lot of people don't realize that they think it's use it or lose it. Well, no, they'll get a lot of those guys. They got paid for it at the end.
Yeah.
Is just by competing it out. Real problem though is when people just go into neutral and they don't really care anymore.
That's
and I
right.
think that passion it's always about passion really with people.
That's right.
And if you lose that, but it's as a leader you have to foster that, and you have to keep that fire burning in everyone to let them know. And a lot of that is encouraging them, saying, hey, you're doing a great job. Even if finding a little thing once a week or once a month to say, hey, because a lot of people get complaints. They don't get the accolades. And it's a big, important part of the mix.
Hey, Tripp, let's switch gears just a little bit. So we've talked a lot about your leadership journey, your family, but you have decided to go into politics. Number one, have you seen a psychiatrist? I'm kidding.
I got a wall in my house that's been bashed with my head a few too many times.
No, seriously.
Oh my
No, this is
gosh.
exciting. You're going into a different venue, a different level. You are running for the state senate in Oregon, District 16. Is that correct?
That's right. Great. It's such a great district. It starts. It's Tillamook, Clatsop, and Columbia counties in their entirety, and part of Multnomah, Washington, and Yamhill counties. So it's a beautiful area. It's the north coast, all the way down the Columbia River to basically Portland. It's a big ag community, great farms. Everyone knows Tillamook cheese. Our fisheries are beautiful. It's a great outdoorsy area. Everyone hunts and fishes out there, and it's a great community.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. I'm headed to the coast on Wednesday, actually.
Oh,
so Depot Bay. I mean, it's so beautiful. Yeah. Is that your area?
No, that's south of Link.
That's a little
south of us. But if you go there, my buddy Travis Stetzel, he owns Nehalem Bay Winery and Depot Bay Winery down there, and known him since we were kids.
Love it. It's absolutely beautiful. And people don't understand, rain or shine, the Oregon coast is incredible. We just adapt. I want to know, though, what made you decide? Like, what was the final push where you're like, I can't sit on the sidelines and, complain anymore. I have to step in.
Well, there's this gradual decline of the vibrancy out there, and constant intrusion into the rights of the ag community out there, and also the people. We're facing struggles, and we're not being represented at our state capitol. And I just got tired of seeing that. The state and the community has given me so much. I feel like I owe it to them to use the skills I have to kind of help represent them effectively at our state capitol.
Ron, I don't know if you have seen this in any of my posts, but Oregon is literally trying to pass something that quintessentially make hunting and fishing illegal.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, can you imagine in the Pacific Northwest?
No.
No, but I'm not shocked.
Animal cruelty.
These harebrained ideas, they get traction, and I don't know. I understand. I guess everyone has an opinion. Everyone's entitled to that, but why would you think that's a good thing? If you do not manage our animal populations effectively, if they're not culled properly, then the whole environment is gone out of whack at that point. We've effectively managed the fishery pretty well. We broadened back the populations and they're pretty strong. We've had some great fishery seasons, but these progressive ideas, at what point is progress too much progress? And no one seems to think that there is enough, and there has to be a limit. And we have to fight for the other side of it just to keep this median ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked, Tripp, about looking quarterly versus long term, and you're exactly right. The circle of life, the wildlife, it has a way of taking care of things. Now, I get it. Sometimes you have to protect wildlife, like you said, if there's a shortage. But I think that there's so many leaders, they just don't see the big picture. They take one little component, one little issue. It's emotionally driven. As you said, it's starting to catch on. And then the next thing you know, you've got a law. I mean, it's a little bit scary that we're led so much by our emotions, it seems. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, we've been used as almost an experiment for the rest of the nation. Look at what happened with Measure 110. Thank God we've repealed a lot of that. But that Measure 110 was the decriminalization of pretty much all drugs here in the state. And the other half of that component was that we were going to use the revenue from marijuana tax sales to fund rehab facilities. Well, none of those rehabs got built, and we have this fentanyl epidemic. Then we also have for instance, the Portland DA refused to enforce or to prosecute criminals for what they consider low-level criminals. I mean, that could be someone who charges at you with a knife or attacks you, but as long as they didn't severely attack you, then okay, then they were just ROR'd out. And then we've lost a sense of humanity around there, and I don't blame people for losing their sense of humanity, because the terrible situation that you just see everywhere around you, you become numb to it. It's sad that that's what's happened. What started a slippery slope in our state, which now is led to, companies being taxed out of the state. Tektronix has left. We had Intel with over 1,000 jobs that were very high paying. They were gone. Yeah. Now you have now they're trying to give tax incentives to the AI data centers that don't employ anyone. So there are priorities right now. They're just lost.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's insane. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The sad thing is, I know Portland doesn't fall right into your district, but it is impacting your area. And I almost see us as Detroit if we don't make some big adjustments.
I've been saying this for over a decade now.
Yeah, seriously.
If you looked at Detroit about 15 years ago, I feel like that's what Portland looks like now. And what we need to do is foster a better business environment for people to come in. Like in Detroit, they had Quicken Loans come in. They had that kind of started the redevelopment of the downtown area and the kind of revamping and getting rid of the blight around there. And not a lot of people know what blight is, but it's basically just boarded up buildings everywhere, and then houses that are boarded up and no one's living in them.
I know. That's how we see these flipper shows, and they're buying houses in Detroit for $1? So the city's letting them buy them. Literally, they're buying them for almost free just to revitalize and not have a boarded up home, right? That's a lot of these flipper shows in that area is from.
The Portland problem too affects us out in my district because talking with the sheriffs out there, you have all these. I still call them homeless. Sorry if you hate me for doing that.
Unhoused. Ron, do you have to say unhoused there in South Carolina?
No, we don't.
The transit, whatever you're going to call them, you're having them all come out to the coastal area, and that floods the different counties' sheriff systems with problems that they have to deal with that they shouldn't have to deal with, and it's almost like the crime situation got so bad in Portland the criminals left.
So bad.
That would be a good stand-up bit right there.
I know. I love that.
Hey, Tripp,
my goodness.
I know you've told us the reason you're running. What are local businesses? Are they saying the same thing as you, or are there other dynamics that the wrong policies have affected in small businesses?
Well, you have a few bills in the Senate right now that are dealing with people's property, like private farms. They should be allowed to have farm stands. They should be allowed to have dinners on them. And and I don't understand why that even needs to be an issue right now. You should be. Since when was a farm stand on a farm not American? That's the most American
I know.
country thing you can get, and it's part of the community. And it's the honor system. What even better shows it? It's I love it. So
I do too.
a lot of the local old businesses I see, they're the problem that they have is with people infringing on their community and cultural identities that they've had out there. You see people at a major intersection in Tillamook. There was like the No Kings protest. I was talking with the people who own the Ace Hardware there in Tillamook. They were like, we know everyone. These aren't people from around here. So you have people coming in and just trying to inflict and I call it, they're inflicting their beliefs on an area that's doing fine. It's like they're trying to breed dissent.
Yeah.
And separate everyone from each other. And really, we just need to be coming together as a community.
Right, because then there's
enough.
control.
Yeah.
They have control once they have the dissent and they have that separation, right?
Yeah.
And then the control comes there.
Yeah, it's either you believe with me, or you're the devil, or you're a
That's true.
fascist, or you're a racist.
It's very true.
And that's the thing they always say. They always say you're racist. And I couldn't be further from it. And most people, I don't really know any real racists.
No, none of us do. I tell Kristin, we're in the middle of a psyop. We really are. There's a psychological operation, and it's working. It's dividing people, terribly.
Yeah.
But Tripp, you said something that really stood out to me. You said, I felt I owed it to the people. And what would you say to other like-minded people that realize that, the government's eroding, in your state in particular, and that need to go into service? What would you say to people? I love that statement. You felt you owed it to the people. Why did you owe it, and what can other people do?
Well, I've been very lucky and successful, and if you don't fight for your community, you can see that I'm seeing it now. I'm just seeing it deteriorate. I'm seeing people having to deal with issues they should never have to, and there's simple fixes that the current government that we have here in our state isn't doing. My uncle Ben Westland, he was a state treasurer, he was a state rep from Ben, and he always said, with great success comes great responsibility. And you got to get out there, you got to try and make an effort. I'm running as a Republican in Oregon.
Yeah, enough said.
There's no telling if I'll win or not, but I can't just sit there and not try. And as long as you make that effort, that really is love. It's always the effort you have.
Yeah.
That's what so what I'd say to them is, if you don't feel particular about getting in the public sphere, and totally understand why the reasons not to do that, but there's other ways you can help out. You can volunteer. You can go and just talk with members of your community, see what's going on that's wrong, and then it doesn't necessarily have to be in politics. You can get out there and get your hands dirty. I think that's a big thing about a community is when you have a great community, if someone needs help, you're there for them.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone has a different skill set and can be utilized differently. And I think that's what people don't realize. Even about a campaign, you can have someone that's better with their hands. They can be the sign guy. Like they're going and making sure the signs get put up. And also that when, the signs get weathered, you replace them or you make sure you reinforce them, right? Like there's so many things that someone can do that unless you think outside the box, you don't realize.
And it all contributes to the goal.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't matter. Everything really matters. Everything matters.
Yes.
Whether it's be putting up the signs or handing out flyers or even just saying, hey, have you thought about this guy at the bar? Every little bit counts. And my hope is that I make everyone feel who's supporting me like how much I really appreciate everything that they're doing, because I'm not getting into this to be a career politician. I'm not getting into this for my own good. This is taking up all my time, and I'm committing my life to this. And if if I'm in for one term or more, my whole goal is to represent the feelings and the needs of the people in my community. And if that means that I'm not that person later on in life, that's fine. As long as I do that I maintain and I'm true to that goal of representing these people.
I love that. And that's what so many people miss. They run on one thing, they get into office, and then they don't truly represent. And
they just want to continue on their career. And they power broker their way around to try and become more than what they signed up for. And if you become a greater thing than what you initially signed up for, that's fine, as long as you continue to represent your constituents properly. And I worry that too many of our politicians don't look at it that way. They kind of try and continuously just grow their career rather than represent.
Yeah, Tripp, I think words like duty, honor, those things have kind of left the public forum, and it needs to come back for sure. Kristin, why don't you kind of take us home here?
Yeah. Well, for the outro here, Tripp, because this was an incredible interview, and it's really anyone listening can have the takeaway of who you are and how you lead, and it's with warmth, love, but also with very clear direction. And I think of you as like that friendly yet firm leader, and which is like the perfect leader. And so, I cannot imagine.
If you shoot for the stars, as long as you hit the sky, you're good.
Yeah. There you go. I love it. So, Tripp Dietrich, business owner, Oregon native, and a reminder that leadership isn't something you claim, it's something you carry. And don't forget, Tripp is running for Senate District 16, state senator.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Yeah, Tripp, it was a real pleasure getting to know
our
you.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. And I'll be submitting my job application, so be on the lookout for that.
And I need to hang out with you at the next Pendleton Round-Up.
Well, yeah, and there's an event for up in Columbia County called Bourbon in the Barn that's going on in March. Check that out. If you like bourbon, it's a great fundraiser to go to.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. All right, everybody, be the leader you're meant to be.
We'll see you next week.
The Dirty Side of Leadership podcast is brought to you by Forward Operations. If you'd like to book Ron or Kristin for speaking events, training, or executive coaching, visit forwardoperations.com. Be the leader you're meant to be.